First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone to the North Carolina Youth Institute webinar to learn more about the process in which you can apply and be a participant this year. So this is an exciting time for all of us to be able to join together and share our experiences. I have 3 alumni with us today, and my partner, Elizabeth Driscoll, who is a 4-H leader. So she's also going to chime in here in just a few minutes. But we would have started with, what countries have you traveled to? So this is an interactive way of kind of knowing what your interests are, or where you have traveled, or what countries you're really wanting to learn more about. So go to the next slide. So I'm Dr. Lauren Snyder. I'm the director of the North Carolina Youth Institute. My email is lori_snyder@ncsu.edu, and my phone number is 919-515-4070. If you have any questions after this webinar is complete, please feel free to email or call. Next slide, please. I would like to introduce Gracie Ward, who is the undergraduate assistant to the North Carolina Youth Institute.
Hi, so glad that you guys are here and wanting to learn about North Carolina Youth Institute. Like Lori said, I'm an undergraduate student. I am in applied nutrition. And if it weren't for the North Carolina Youth Institute and the Global Youth Institute, I really wouldn't know what I was truly passionate about, which is maternal and infant health. So I wouldn't be where I am today without it.
Thank you, Gracie. I'm glad you shared your perspective. And the next slide, please. So this year's event takes place on April 23rd, which is a Friday, and it actually is an online Zoom event. Those that are eligible are 9th through 12th grade. We have a registration and a paper submission process, which is due on March the 16th. In the next few slides, we're going to talk about, how did the North Carolina Youth Institute come into existence? How did I get started in learning about this program? And just before we advance to the next slide, I want to point out to the very tall Ethiopian I'm standing next to on this last slide. This is Dr. Gabiza Jetta, who was my mentor when I was working at Purdue University, who won the World Food Prize in 2009. And it was his mentor that I also had the chance to meet, which was Dr. Norman Borlaug, who was the Nobel Peace Prize winner in 1970, who then formed the World Food Prize with his earnings in order to then form the Global Youth Institute, because youth was his main focus in our future. So the next slide, please. So a little bit, just a little more how this ties in very closely. Now in 2016, we had 2 past alumni of NC State win the World Food Prize, and their focus was on the sweet potato. And so having the background and the alumni being present in such an amazing experience and award-winning, I wanted to just show you where some of our graduates have gone with the World Food Prize, and that's an exciting part to tie back to our home state. Okay, and then the next slide. So Dr. Norman Borlaug, he always would say this: you cannot build a peaceful world on empty stomachs and human misery. So his focus was on fighting and finding solutions to our food insecurity issues around the world. And so, as I mentioned before, he formed the Global Youth Institute out of the foundation of the World Food Prize, which is located in Des Moines, Iowa. Next slide, please. So really, I want you to think or see yourself, how do these issues affect us? Think about your community, our world, our country, our county, our local communities. This is just in the context of both local and global. So how do you see yourself? How do these issues affect you? And really, it's like food availability, let's say food availability, as well as the nutrition behind it, and how does it affect the medicine world as far as medicinal intake. If you have an empty stomach, it's really hard to be effective in delivery of medicine. So let thy food be thy medicine is really an essential part of what Dr. Norman Borlaug would all say to us if you were still here. Next slide, please. So on a larger scale, a lot of the times that when we think about these food insecurities, it deals with conflict, barriers in education, and of course, poor nutrition. Next slide, please. So what fact on this particular slide is appealing or interesting, or, oh wow, like I never thought about that many people having, being exposed to being unnourished. So in 2017, 821 million were undernourished. And then as you talk about children in pediatrics, 22% of children under 5 are stunted, and 5.9% of the children under 5 are overweight. So you have both extreme, a range of percentage with different issues dealing with health. And it all comes back to food scarcity or food availability, or food deserts, meaning that you have food, but it's not the correct food. And so therefore weight gain can happen, or wasted. So wasted food. So this is just an example of some of the topics that we discussed during this particular event. Next slide. So which problem should you tackle, or should we tackle first? How can you be a part of that solution, and why does this matter? And so, Gracie, I'm going to ask you really quickly, because I'm going to give you some time on the screen. What did you think about when you were first approaching this in your thought process of deciding to do the program?
Yeah, I think whenever I decided to do the program, it was kind of overwhelming at first, because I feel like we look at the world and we see so many problems. But I think for myself, I wanted to find a problem that I was particularly passionate about, which was malnutrition. And I wanted to look at it in a country that was very different from my own. So I picked South Sudan. And I don't know, I looked and tried to find what other countries were doing to help with malnutrition, and tried to create a solution that was specific to South Sudan. And that was really challenging, but it was really worth it in the end. And I thought it was really amazing that I got to go and present that, and that people took me seriously. And that was just such an awesome experience, getting to pick out that thing that I was passionate about, and pursuing it, and really trying to find a solution that people took seriously.
Yes, that is really true. I think the most often I hear from the students who participate in the program is how serious the professionals take them. They really want to listen to what you are giving for your solution, and make it understood that this is feasible, what you're presenting, and you can create the pathways and potential internships that create that road to your success. So I think that ties into a bigger picture. If we can go to the next slide. So yeah, how do you participate? And so we have an actual website link, I think on the next slide, that shows you directly takes you to all that you need, meaning the paper instructions are there, the registration dates, the event flyer, the paper resources, a sample paper. A lot of people often ask me, well, what does a sample paper look like? So we've uploaded one for you to see. There is a teacher registration or mentor. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a teacher. It could be a 4-H leader. It could be a parent that registers, or a mentor. And then the student must register, of course. And in order to participate, you have to upload and present a research paper. And so we'll get into a little more details. And like I said, I have some other guests that are going to be talking and sharing their experiences as well. So I can't wait for them to speak in just a few minutes. So that's the particular website that you need. And, really I'm interested in the ways that we can connect with you, and how you may have questions on participating and becoming involved. Next slide, please. So what matters to you? I'm going to quickly turn this over to Andrew and Claire, if they like to chime in and say, what topic did you pick when you wrote your paper? You have 20 topics that you can actually choose from, which are all listed here. So Andrew, what topic did you end up choosing?
I ended up choosing sustainable agriculture, and looking how we could find ways to use plants and the environment to help us make better soil in Madagascar.
Excellent. What about you, Claire?
Mine was a combination of kind of like climate and sustainable agriculture, as I use this as an opportunity to explore like greenhouse agriculture and agriculture in cold climates, just because I was inspired to do this and write my paper by an agricultural teacher. So that was what we were learning about. But yeah, it was a good time. I learned a lot in the process.
You know, you bring up a good point about, you had an agricultural teacher that was your leader, but it doesn't need to necessarily be an agricultural teacher. It could be a science or an environmental science or a history teacher, or even a foreign language teacher that helps you become involved in this project. So I want to just say there's no limitation to who can be involved. We want everyone to feel like they can contribute, from infectious disease or medicine or science. We just want to keep it open for everyone's interest. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So once you pick your topic, it's kind of hand in hand. You pick your topic, you choose a country, and then you can see all over the world, we usually have, it's really remarkable since 2014 to today, rarely do we have a repeat in a country. And if we do, we have separate groups and smaller groups, so everyone has a diverse experience in learning about a different country. So it's really unique how everyone chooses different topics in different countries. That makes it fun and engaging for those who participate. Next slide, please. So Liz, do you want to talk a little bit about the paper presentation and what you've experienced on your side?
I will. Thanks, Lori. So this is, I think, one of the most interesting parts. So you as a youth would present in just a 2 to 3 minute summary of what you found in your research about your country, and then your peers and a panel of experts, usually faculty members in the different departments in our College of Ag and Life Sciences, or other invited guests that are engaged in this work, have the opportunity to ask questions and respond to your summary. And from what youth have said about their participation, this has been one of the most interesting parts for them, where they get to hear what other folks are interested in, hear the solutions and possibilities that they have come up with, and really make some deep connections among each other.
Thank you. That's exactly what they do. They have a wonderful experience, and it makes it fun to engage. And so we can do the same presentation mode in the Zoom. Worked very effectively last year. So we can go to the next slide. We'll talk a little more about what else you experience. So we'll have some virtual immersion experiences this year. Unfortunately, we wish we could do the face-to-face, but we'll do our best to make it as very in-depth and career exploring, because I think part of the immersion experiences is really to meet people within an interested field that you're thinking of going into, or maybe you've never even thought of, and you discover that particular interest during this experience. So at the end, you're considered, when you complete the North Carolina Youth Program, you'll receive what they call a title of a Borlaug Scholar. And then we have a select group of students that are selected to go to the Global Youth Institute, which is the next promotion in the program. And so we want to say that as a Borlaug Scholar, you are have access to different experiences like the Borlaug Ran internship or the Wallace Carver, which we have a few, we have a student who is willing to share their experience coming up soon. So next slide, please. So Liz, I know I'm going to turn it back to you really quickly, but Cindy Blair was one of our past students who participated in 4-H, and if you want to share the next little tidbits of information, it'd be great.
Yeah, so Sydney participated in the North Carolina Youth Institute and had written her paper and was given the opportunity to move on to the Global Youth Institute, which is part of the World Food Prize in Des Moines, Iowa. And it was this experience that was just so compelling for her, similar to Gracie's story, is that she found her calling and is coming to NC State to major in agroecology. And so it was this program that gave her the opportunity to continue to build that career pathway. And she's so excited about it. And so when she was here in Des Moines, these pictures are her and her 4-H agent, who was her mentor, had the opportunity to go and meet people from all over the country, from across the world. They were able to meet some of the World Food Prize laureates and really just have an experience that has sparked her for her future career.
Definitely. She was really excited the other day when she had a chance to share with us her experiences. And so that's what we're really looking for, those opportunities for our students to excel and to meet and network. And I know we have testimonies of students coming up soon to talk about that. Next slide, please. So we offer, this program at the global level actually does some workshop development for teachers or agents. So you can actually become involved in the network of learning as you're going through this program. So at the North Carolina Youth Institute, I think last year we had a segment just for teachers or parents that was different than where the students were talking and interacting. So you get a chance to also learn more about the program and how this can enhance the person that you're mentoring. So that's a good aspect of this. So it's just, it helps to give some guidance to the teachers. And here's an example of one of the groups that, or actually the teachers that were involved last year in 2019's program when they were all face-to-face. So this is an example of the teachers together. And then Liz, if you want to speak on Crystal Stark's behalf, yes.
Sure. So Crystal is another one of our extension agents in Union County, and she's there in the middle. And she brought one of her 4-Hers, Erin. Let me see if I can go to the next slide. This is Erin right here. And Erin gave her paper presentation and did her research on Fuji and was able to go on to the Global Youth Institute. And it inspired Erin so much and the work that she did that she was able to earn a scholarship to attend Duke this fall. And it was really due to her experiences with the North Carolina Youth Institute and the Global Youth Institute that kind of gave her that leverage to move forward in her work and her career.
Yeah, she has a wonderful story of how this really inspired her to move forward, and as all of our other students have as well. Next slide, please. So Claire, I'm going to turn it back to you. So if you could please share your experience, that would be great.
Hey, hello everyone. Hi, my name is Claire, and I did the North Carolina Youth Institute in 2019, and then got the chance to go to Iowa for Global Youth Institute. And this experience, just like everyone was saying earlier, one of the coolest things about it is who you get to meet and the professionals that take you seriously. Like in my room, for example, in this top left picture, for my panelists, I actually had Dr. Robert Mwanga, who was an alumni of NC State, and then also Dr. Norman Borlaug's daughter. And it's just crazy to think they read a paper that I wrote. But something I wrote my paper on agriculture and cold climates, but what I'm actually going into now is I'm an animal science major here at NC State. So even though my paper wasn't directly related to what I'm doing now, what this experience really did for me was solidify that I wanted to work in agriculture, because I just love the community and how everyone's here to like save lives and improve the world. And I also really loved and learned how interdisciplinary everything is. Like, even though this is the Agricultural Institute, like you saw when you're looking at the choices of things that you care about, like infrastructure is one, because it's all interrelated. So hearing different presentations from people in my group, some sounded like a college paper and really detailed genetics, and then one was on like open defecation Uganda. So it's just, the range was really inspiring. And yeah, looking forward to hopefully a career in agriculture, partially because of these experiences. So highly recommend.
Awesome, thank you. Next slide, please. Andrew Burley, would you like to speak on behalf of all your experiences? You have so many.
I would love to. So for me, the North Carolina Youth Institute was just another book in my chapter that I just never even imagined was going to be there. Me attending it was kind of just a fly decision at school. My teacher had us write a paper and we uploaded it, and he said, you can go to this conference too, you can apply. And so I just said, why not? And I did. And like I said, it just absolutely altered my career and my aspirations in such a good way. It eventually led me going to the Global Youth Institute as well in 2019 as the collegiate member. So I got to go as a freshman in college. So that was a really unique experience. As you can see, my bottom right is everyone there that was in my group. I got to present my paper on Inca row farming in Madagascar. And the panelists there, everyone was there supporting my ideas, and it never felt like they were criticizing me. Rather, they were just giving their honest and professional opinions of this is possible, this is what you need to think about to make it happen, and you can do it one day if you really want to. And what was also really cool is when I was reviewing my paper, I found out that my research was actually being done. So they were very right. This is something that you do now, and your research is something that will and can possibly happen. One other experience that I really wanted to share is while we were learning about the Youth Institute, we talked about Dr. Jan Lowe, who worked with sweet potatoes in Africa. She was the 2017 or 2018 World Food Prize laureate. And while we were sitting at a dinner one day at the Global Youth Institute, she just sat down at my table right beside me. And I was absolutely starstruck. I was like, do you know who you are? Of course you know who you are. Oh my goodness. So I was just absolutely thrilled. We sat down and we had a nice conversation just about Inca row farming in Madagascar and sweet potatoes in Africa. It's something that I never would be able to do, that type of networking, if I didn't get to go to the Global Youth Institute. Further, the Global Youth Institute gave me the opportunity to become a Borlaug Ruan international intern. And so what that is, it's an opportunity for you to have an international internship in research somewhere around the globe. So last year, due to COVID, I was the guinea pig for the first virtual Borlaug Ruan internship. And I have to say, despite the communication challenges to talk to someone in China, because we're 12 hours apart, we were still able to do it. We found ways, and I would ask her a quick question. Hey, how do I research this gene on the database? She'd get back to me, and then she'd send me some pictures of her vacation or some traditional practices of dim sum. So while I was learning how to research, I was also learning a lot about the Chinese culture from her very own perspective. And so it was just such a neat experience. And to tie that all back around to where I am now, the Global Youth Institute, like I said, changed my career path. And now I'm at NCSU studying chemical, biomolecular engineering, and plant biology to look into plant genetics for sustainable agricultural reasons. So wonderful program. You need to get in this as soon as possible.
That's I couldn't have paid you more for that. That's awesome, Andrew. No, I mean, each of you have had the most unique experience and life-changing epiphanies of direction of your career. And I know, Andrew, you seem to be interested in plants as you got started, but you're first just coming in chemical molecular engineering. Then you added, I believe, a major, and now hopefully you're going to be doing some really interesting internship work in plant genetics. So I'm excited for you. That's wonderful. So we'll go ahead and move to the next slide. So this is kind of just gives you the overview picture of where you started the North Carolina Youth Institute. There is not a limitation on the number of students we will take. We'll take as many as we can get online. It's just when we get to the Global Youth Institute, we have a set number in which they give us each year, but the papers are reviewed by a panel of experts, not at NC State, but at the World Food Prize. They give the students direct feedback. The papers are scored. And so our selection is a combination of paper scores and also enthusiasm and, professionalism. We have a whole rubric of ways that we figure out who goes to the next level. But as you just heard, Andrew's speaking about the Borlaug Ruan international internship that he experienced. And we've actually had several alumni apply and be a part of the Wallace Carver USDA internship. And so now I think the rules have changed that you just have to participate in a North Youth Institute program, and you can apply to both of those internships as an opportunity. So that's exciting to know that there's more than just participating in the North Carolina Youth Institute. You can go to another level. Okay. So what's next? This is an example of my first and only student I had in 2014, and that was Belton Moore. And it's very unique how this all got started. Came to visit NC State with his school, and it was just because I offered an international agriculture workshop. I got to meet Belton, and I said to him, have you heard about this program? It's a Global Youth Institute. I technically do not have the North Carolina Youth Institute established yet, but would you be interested in? So he applied at the Global, and which technically if you don't have a home institute program, you can apply to the Global Youth Institute at large, and then you're selected with a pool of students at that way. But the goal is to go through the North Carolina Youth Institute, which gives you a chance to present and get feedback for your paper. But regardless, he had a chance to work with one of our past World Food Prize winners in India, and that experience, just like Andrew explained, really did change his life. He ended up doing like dual major in ag economics and I think in business management, as well as minor in a couple foreign languages. He's an incredible story experience, and it's nice to be able to share that with you. And next slide, please. So as we end, the main points are, I want to drive home, is that registration and the papers due by March 16th. The event is on April the 23rd. And if you have any questions, or if you see this and you want us to explain more, we'll be happy to help. And I'll just open up to anyone else that would like to say anything as we close. Anything else in addition you'd like to share, Gracie or Andrew, Claire, Liz? No? Okay, well, we want to thank our guests today for sharing their perspective. And like I said, we are happy and looking forward to having you for this year's Youth Institute. So thank you so much.